friends, welcome to the Mindset Moms. I'm Lindz.
And I'm Jen.
And today is an exciting episode because we have two very special guests.
Yes, we do. We have the Evolution of Mom podcast. We are so excited to have you, Charisse and Amy.
Welcome to our podcast, ladies.
From Canada, eh? Is that how you say it?
That's right.
Thanks so much for having us.
We're so excited to be here. So you guys, we connected with these beautiful ladies over on Instagram, and Jen and I had no clue that there were like two more of us out there in the world who were as obsessed with mindset as we were. We kind of thought we were the only ones, and lo and behold, we are not. So Charisse and Amy are like the Jenn and Lindz in Canada, and we are just could not be more thrilled to have them on. And today's episode is going to be all about collaboration over competition.
Yes, it is. And oh my gosh, just saying that, we were talking earlier about in the social media world and just in women in general, there's a huge need for support and with collaborating. First of all, we want to know and tell our audience how you two met and how you decided to start your brand.
Yeah, tell us your story.
Do you want to take it? You start. Go for it. So Amy and I we actually met for the very first time speaking at a health and wellness event. It was my first time up on stage, and Amy talked regularly about hormones, and I shared my story, and she just kind of connected with it. And then when she got up on stage and she started sharing about hormones and women's health and some of her stories, there was so many underlying emotions that were very similar, and both of us kind of connected through that and got to know each other over the last couple of years. We're both moms of boys. We both are RMTs, so there was a lot of similarities, and then we just kind of grew from there. We had a passion for public speaking and for trying to help and advocate for women, and it grew from there. I think December, we decided that we should have a podcast, and here we are.
It did. We instantly connected over our struggles being so different, but so the same. My struggle comes from a terrible health background and overcoming that, and yours comes from more mindset and struggles that way. But we noticed the feelings behind it were the same. Right? Women, we get overwhelmed, we feel lonely, we deal with worthiness issues, all of those things. And so we came together in those feelings, realizing that our stories and backgrounds were so different, but the feelings behind it were so similar, and how that just speaks to every woman, I feel like. Whether we're going through any kind of struggle, the underlying feelings are what can connect us the most. And we knew that that was something that was needed to be heard and shared.
Oh, that's so beautiful. We share the same mission. This is Lindz, and I would love to know how you came up with your name, the Evolution of Mom.
So our name was a random night drinking wine where we were trying to figure out what would be a great name. And we were trying to figure out what we were wanting out of it. And we're like, moms wear so many hats nowadays. We are not just like a mom. We're usually moms. We're building businesses. We're homeschooling our kids. We're doing all the things. And it really kind of came down to we needed a new evolution of mom. We needed that next level mom. And so, yeah, we kind of spun it off of the play of like the evolution of man. And we were like, well, if anybody can do it better, moms can do it better. Right. So
that's right. And we picture, the stereotypical picture of a mom with her curlers and 6 kids on her arms, and she's in her house coat and she's stressed and she's overwhelmed. Well, let's evolve her into what women are really becoming now. They're becoming more than just moms, more than just their spouse, wife, more than just being at home. They're diving into their passions. They're growing their minds. It's a beautiful shift in women right now. And I think just the evolution of mom represents that.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too. So ladies, tell our listeners a little bit about what you provide besides podcasting.
Our biggest goal is to create a community, a supportive, safe space for women to come and share their struggles, feel heard, and feel supported in whatever they're going through. And we do that through Instagram. We have an Instagram page that we love to post quotes on and interact with our followers, our listeners. But we also go live every Thursday night where we get really casual. We call it Bevies and BS with Amy and Cherise. And it's a little more casual than our podcast, where we can just unpack the week, talk about mom life and the things that women really need to hear, and the mindset around dealing with all of the day-to-day weekly things. And on our podcast, we love to, I mean, our goal is to inspire, but we also really love to educate. We're deep into education and empowering women through that.
I think like our main goal is to take women that are stressed and overwhelmed and feeling like those days where you just feel like you're failing at momhood, at your business, at everything, and take them and give them tangible tools to feel like they actually can win their day. So I think that's our main our main priority.
Yeah, and getting them to realize that self-care isn't selfish. We're really big believers on not giving from an empty space. Women get so good at giving from an empty cup instead of a place of fulfillment. So we're really deep into helping women find what brings them joy, find what like fills their cup, so that they can keep serving, but from a space of fulfillment.
That's so important and needed. And speaking of tangible tools, so what are your go-to tools for yourselves to get through a day? And when challenges arise with mindset, what are your go-to tools to use?
So my favorite when it comes to just even conquering my day and my mindset is my morning routine. Like that is my like sacred space. And I find when we're pouring into ourselves first, I can greet the day with more of a response rather than a reactivity.
Mm-hmm.
So I get up in the morning. My kids are not allowed out of their room until 7 a.m. And I get up at 6 a.m., 5:30 to 6. And I have journaling and mindset work. I do yoga in the morning and breath work. Breath work's been a really huge tool for me to help work through some of my past traumas, and then just set the days with intention.
100%. When you can start your day in a proactive state instead of just waking up and reacting to everything that's thrown at you, and the ask for the million snacks and all the things that happen, it's life-changing. It is. We both are big believers in morning routines and getting up. And even if it's just, we're not saying start getting up at 5 a.m. and do meditation, do your yoga. It's something you build into. It is. And we're big believers in small, consistent changes over time create success. And so even if you start your day 15 minutes earlier than you normally would have, and just have a quiet, hot cup of coffee, hot cup of tea, if you're a tea lover like myself, and even just having that moment of stillness, of, a moment for yourself before all the noise happens and everything, it can be extremely life-changing to how you approach your day. And if that's not something that speaks to women, we also are just big believers in making sure we have a moment for ourselves in the day, making sure we're taking that time. And self-care is a lot different than what we tend to think it is. A lot of women are like, oh, I have self-care, I have a shower. I'm like, no, that's just your basic human right, is to have a shower if you want to. I'm talking like 15 minutes of reading your favorite book to yourself, or whatever it is that speaks to you. That's a big one for me. I like to have a quiet moment. All my self-care is very based around quiet and being by myself.
Yeah.
I'm a homeschooling mom of 2 boys. And so it's very rare to get these moments unless I create them for myself. And I'm very proactive and mindful of creating them for myself. So basically anything that allows me to be alone and quiet.
I feel like that's really common there's 4 women here right now, and I think all 4 of us are aligned with that need, and that fulfills us so much. So for our listeners, if you are needing self-care, first of all, I think the whole term with self-care is completely, they overthink it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a topic that I've noticed is trending that, well, I don't have time to do this, or I can't go get my nails done, or I can't go do this. You guys, it doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be this thought out process. It literally can be something simple as, like you just said, 15 minutes of quiet time, enjoying your beverage, your hot coffee, I know Lindsay and I are the same. We're very big on our morning routine, and mine is the same. I just want my hot coffee. Don't sit in my spot because that's mine where I read. And it's funny that it's a joke around here, but they know like, oh, mom, don't bother mom. Like she's got her little spot and she's reading. So yeah, thank you for sharing about that. And I want to ask you really quick. You said something that I just love is that self-care is selfless. I love that. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that for our audience?
Absolutely. I mean, moms especially get this feeling that when they take time for themselves, it's very selfish and it's taking away from their family, taking away from their children. But in reality, when you are constantly giving and constantly pouring out into others, you're going to crash and burn. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to be giving from the space you want to be giving from. We always want to be giving people our best, especially our children, our partners, our husbands, anything. It can't be done if you're not pouring into yourself, right? It's a huge shift to give from a space of fulfillment and a full cup that is yours compared to trying to constantly react and just give from an empty space.
That's so true. And we're firm believers on that too. So it's just exciting to hear other women talk about that.
I was just going to say, like, I think that the mom guilt can really eat us up. And so it feels like it's a selfish thing, but it's actually the most selfless thing that you can do. Mm-hmm. And so like, I like to run it through the lens, like what's best for me is what's best for everybody else, because Absolutely. Then I have that much more to pour into everybody.
Mm-hmm. I like that perspective. Definitely. So ladies, we love that you have come together to help other moms, the same as Jenn and I. And we'd like to talk to you a little bit about your thoughts on collaboration versus competition, because here we are pretty much aligned in our thought process. You love mindset just like we do. We are both lovers of anatomy and physiology, and we just want to know your experience and your thoughts on how you collaborate with other women in this space and what your thoughts are with competition.
Well, I mean, I grew up in competitive sports, and I know like I was never really a fan of women because I found women mean, because I thought they if one was succeeding, that meant somebody else had to fail. And I thought as we grew older that we would kind of grow out of that. And I kind of just naturally leaned, like being in a room with women was like my worst nightmare. When I was adult, I was like, no, this is like, because women were always like catty and talking behind each other's backs. And I was like, I want to see women succeed. And I know you guys have a passion for that too. Like we all just want to see these women succeeding and thriving. And I think as moms, like we already are hearing it from so many different areas. Like you're homeschooling, you're working, you're bottle feeding, you're breastfeeding, you're formula feeding, whatever it is. Like we're being told that what we're doing is wrong all the time. And I think moms, because we're all struggling, there's not so much a community feel anymore. And I think like the more that we lean on each other and understand that we all have those same emotions underneath, the more that we can sit there and start rooting for each other rather than wanting to tear everybody else down, because we can all win. Everybody can win. Somebody doesn't have to lose just because somebody else is winning, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to thinking about having an abundant mindset, right? You ladies are big on mindset. You understand that. There's a difference between thinking that women can't work together and that women can, and one is very abundant and the other one is a very lack mindset, right? And the ones who are abundant thinking and are going to come together in service for other women, in service for the world, those are the women that are going to win. And winning through serving others is always a beautiful thing. And I mean, women can change the world. You said this earlier, that we're just coming into a time where women are shifting into more of these roles. And it's such a beautiful space to see that we just need to celebrate anyone who's willing to step out and talk about it, to talk about struggles, to want to cheer on other women. It's so needed.
That really is. And if you're listening, you have to go follow these ladies on Instagram. They are the Evolution of Mom podcast. And you guys, we've talked about this before, but for our audience, when we met Sharice and Amy, we had a Zoom call just to kind of say hi and get to know each other. And we were literally, I think for me, the whole time I was thinking like, dude, they're literally, we are aligned on this same wavelength. Like Lindsay and I, we've talked about this before. Like we are constantly on the same wavelength. We finish each other's sentences or words, or we can pull from each other where the other one is just kind of not where we need to be. And it's so exciting to meet women like you out there because, like you alluded to earlier, it's definitely needed. And we are making the shift and the change that's needed in the mindset of women, not even just moms, just women.
Women.
That it's okay to partner up and collaborate instead of compete. So thank you for sharing that because I think when you hear from multiple women on different platforms, it really hits home for a lot of people listening. So
yeah,
it does. I was going to say really quick, I love the dynamic between the two of you. I love that you both have similar passions like Jenn and I, but your personalities are a little bit different. Can you tell us a little bit and the differences of your personalities and how that is working together?
I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well is like, I mean, Amy's a homeschooling mom, stay-at-home mom, 2 boys. I'm a single mom and I'm working as well as building a business and doing multi other things. And I think like Amy's got, she's got a lot of science and she loves being able to bring facts and stuff. And I love to tell stories like that. That's one of my big things. And so the more that we collaborate, the more that we join together, the more people that we can touch, right? And that's the same thing with working with you guys is the same way. The more women that we can be exposed to and the more that we can help. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And instead of just sitting there going, oh, like, I'm going to just tell stories and I'm going to like, there's going to only be a certain amount of people that I can speak to. Right. And same with Amy, there's going to be a certain amount of people that she can speak to. So the more that we can collaborate, the better. And I know that us together is better than if we were apart.
I think Jenn and I both agree. It's the whole proverbial 2 heads are better than one. And I think that completely applies to both you ladies and to Jenn and I as well.
Yeah, it does. And it's exciting to see women, like you in a business partnership, because as we've evolved, I think even still to this day, when we're guests on podcasts or even just talking to clients, like one of the main questions besides how do you do it all, but is how do you work together? How does your partnership work? And to be honest, when we were first getting asked this, I was like, well, what do you mean?
We were a little taken back by that question. And I'd love to ask that question to you ladies. How do you make your partnership work in your business?
Check-in questions.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely lean on each other's strengths, right? I think that's the best part of working with others is recognizing each other's strengths and letting each other run with those. And then, I mean, obviously, when you work with someone, being aligned in your core values is everything. It's where you as different as you are, right? She has her whimsy and she loves talking about male and female energies. And me, I'm thinking like, okay, how am I going to make that work in my brain? Right. And I'm just sitting there like, no, tell me more.
I was like, I can feel this viscerally, like straight in my body. Like this emotion was here. And she's like, I don't understand.
And I'm trying to picture it like, okay, like on an actual visceral level. So like in your liver, like I'm trying, right? So she's right. So we play on each other that way. And when we can celebrate each other's gifts, it creates beautiful teamwork. Mm-hmm. It does. And we make sure that, I mean, honestly, we coach each other all the time. Yeah, we do. We're each other's biggest fans and also each other's biggest support. And we have our friend hat or our business hat. And, she's even said to me, Amy, I need to like take off my friend hat for a minute and we're going to talk business hat for just a moment. And then it was like, actually, I have a comment about like this. So I'm actually going to put my friend hat back on and just tell you about what I'm seeing today in you as a person and you and your energy. How are you doing? And we have created check-in questions for each other. You know, one of them is, where do you feel like I'm showing up well? Where do you feel like maybe I'm not showing up as much?
Yeah. And I think with that, like the importance is we know that sharing our truth is so important, and we're not doing it to hurt the other person when we're checking in. It's just like when I have to, like, I'm like, okay, I need to take off my friend hat because my friend worries about hurting my other friend. But I'm like, from a business standpoint, I'm like, this is where, you know, like we can point out each other's strengths and weaknesses, and neither of us take it personally. Right. We're like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And I can try and do better. And so we split roles and stuff that way very well, because we do check in regularly. It's a weekly check-in, and we tell each other honestly what's going on. And I think that's huge. Like, it's so important to be honest with each other.
And we created from day one that's a safe space.
Yeah.
Love that. And I feel like if any business alone can apply that, they would be so much more successful. I mean, right? Whether you're two moms, 500 people, a team, whatever it is. And I'm sure, Sharice, you can, like, this applies to sports, right? Yeah. There's times where you can be together and, you know, pick each other up and
work as a team,
you know, pat each other on the butt and say, you got this, you go. And there's times where you know, you need to sit down and call each other out on your bullshit. And that's where Lindz and I are. We went into this knowing, and to be honest, we didn't even sit down before we started our business and go, okay, so this is this and this is that. We were so aligned together with what we wanted. We already knew each other personally, and we just went in, and we have evolved over the course of the last year to, okay, this is where we're at. This is what we need. It's all communication, but communication aside, right? There is that underlying motive, and we know each other's whys. And I think that's so important. So you can continuously connect without being mad or being sensitive or hurt or whatever. So that's so exciting to hear that you ladies are doing that too, because not only is it a beautiful friendship to have, but it's just awesome to have a partner in a business that you both have the same purpose. So we always talk about that all the time. Like, there's no denying whatsoever in the past years that we were made to be here and doing what we're doing right now, with all the failures, with all the messes, with all the setbacks. I mean, I'm going to end with this, but I'm sure you went through this too. Like, we still have family members and friends that think we're batshit crazy for doing this. Like, what? You're a mom of 5, you're homeschooling, you want to do this too? Like, what the?
Just another.
Like, nobody makes any money in podcasting. Right?
Right? And so
why would you take on more than you already are doing?
Exactly. And I'm like, no, but you don't understand. I can't ignore this pull. I cannot ignore this intuitive feeling that is telling me that, no, this is what you need to do. This is your purpose right now, aside from what you're already doing. And so thank you for sharing your story, because our audience needs to hear it, because they hear us talk about it. But I think coming from a different perspective and different women, it's definitely going to be an eye opener. And so
we love to ask all of our guests on our podcast, and I'm throwing you a little bit of a monkey wrench here. We love to ask everyone what their guilty pleasure is. So, Amy, why don't you start? What is your guilty pleasure?
You know what? I actually have been playing around with this because I'm trying to indulge in that more, to allow myself to have that moment for myself to let loose and to indulge in one of my guilty pleasures. And I let that out today. One that I have been suppressing for weeks now is listening to music, believe it or not, because lots of time I'm love personal development. I listen to audiobooks. And so I'm like, you know what? I should be listening to my audiobook. But today I turned my music on and I danced like a maniac.
Love it.
And sang out loud and probably embarrassed my children in my front window. Like, but it lights something up in my soul. And music is such a huge part of my life. And I need to stop denying myself that fun in the name of, oh, I should be educating myself. I should be doing all these things. It's important to have that balance. And so today I did that, and I haven't done that in weeks. And I felt like $1 million to just let loose that way. So that is one of mine, listening to music, dancing like a maniac.
Love it.
Moving my body in that way.
So my guilty pleasures would have to be like sappy, romantic, like movies, like that will bawl my eyes out. If I can sit there with a glass of wine and in my sweatpants and I'll just like ugly cry with nobody around, it's probably my favorite thing. I love it.
Okay, have you watched Outlander?
No.
Oh, girlfriend.
We're very like on a low-key level obsessed with that show.
There's nothing low-key about our obsession, okay?
Yeah, you
It's
put on some
Love
sweatpants,
it.
and you might like
Actually.
maybe some sweat shorts because it gets a little steamy.
It has all the things. You'll love it. Oh yeah.
Oh, girlfriend, yeah, you will love it. So you just described both of my guilty pleasures.
Yes.
Dancing, I think Lindz had come over where I had like 90s rap on loud for the neighborhood, dancing with my kids. I'm not lying. And then I literally I'm obsessed with Outlander. So
We cannot thank you ladies enough for being on our podcast today. We just know that all of our listeners are going to absolutely love the both of you. And will you please let our listeners know where they can find you?
Thank you so much for having us. So you can find us at the Evolution of Mom podcast on Instagram. Any podcast platforms, we're the Evolution of Mom, and the m.e.community on Facebook.
Play on
Awesome.
Evolution of Mom Evolution. We're like, you know what? It's all about getting into your self-love. So we're going to call it the me community.
I
Love it.
that. You guys provide such high value on your Instagram. So if you are listening, please go follow these amazing women. Their Instagram is just chock full of value. Like they mentioned earlier, they go live every week. There's just a ton of great content. So we hope that you liked today's episode. If you did, would you please do us a big favor and leave us a review? We would appreciate it so much. And we hope that you guys have an amazing week.